The fluorescent lights of the office flicker at 2 a.m., casting long shadows across a desk that has known 40 years of servitude. An old man sits alone, his tired eyes staring at nothing. His trembling hand reaches for a cold coffee cup, the same cup he's been nursing for 6 hours. The coffee left a bitter stain on the rim, much like life left its mark on him. A faded family photograph sits beside the monitor. His daughter's wedding, his wife's 60th birthday, the faces of people he worked hard for but rarely saw. Through the rain-streaked window, he watches the city lights flicker. Each light is another soul, another story, another person trapped in the same endless cycle of survival. He lets out a deep, trembling sigh and closes his eyes for just a moment. But that moment stretches, and he is no longer in this office. He is somewhere else entirely. The computer screen glows with a single number. Retirement savings. $0 after 42 years of work. The numbers don't lie, but they also don't forgive. His weathered fingers touch the glass of the photograph frame. The man in that picture was 35, full of hope, smiling, believing he had decades to figure things out. The office clock ticks mercilessly. 6 in the morning. Another shift begins before the last one truly ended. There is no end. There is only the next deadline. Piles of unpaid bills cover the corner of his desk like fallen autumn leaves. Each one is a reminder that survival costs more than a paycheck can provide. He picks up a pen and begins writing the same report he wrote yesterday, and the day before, and every day for the past 15,000 days. The ink bleeds into the paper like time bleeding away. Flashback. 25 years old. A car dealership with polished floors and the smell of new tires. Young George grins as he signs the papers for a sports car he cannot afford. The credit card machine prints a receipt that stretches like a snake. The limit approved. The trap set. Young George sees status, not debt. He doesn't know the difference yet. Young George drives his new car through the city, music blasting, windows down. He feels invincible. The monthly payments feel like a distant echo he refuses to hear. Flashback. 30 years old. A crowded restaurant with expensive wine and louder friends. Everyone orders the most expensive item on the menu. Image over income. The check arrives, and everyone pretends to calculate their share. Nobody calculated anything. They lived on borrowed money and borrowed time, thinking both were infinite. Young George watches his friends drive away in their leased cars. He doesn't know that 7 of them will declare bankruptcy within a decade. He smiles, still clueless. Flashback. 35 years old. Home office, dimly lit. A book about investing sits unopened on the shelf, collecting dust. He tells himself he'll start next month. A yellow sticky note on the monitor reads, "I'll start investing when I get the promotion." The promotion never came. The note yellowed. The dream faded. Flashback. 40 years old. The bank teller's screen shows a savings account with barely 4 digits. 4 decades of work, and this is what remains. He looks away. Flashback. 45 years old. A hospital hallway. Medical bills for his aging mother pile up on the passenger seat of his car. He signs another loan agreement blindly. The loan officer smiles and shakes his hand. Young George doesn't see the trap. He only sees a solution to today's problem. Tomorrow's problem will be tomorrow's George's problem. Back to present. 70-year-old George stirs from his memory. He looks at the travel brochure on his desk. A tropical paradise, now yellowed and collecting dust for 30 years. The brochure shows a beach with crystal clear water, palm trees swaying, a hammock between 2 trees. The retirement dream he promised himself. The dream that never came. Imagination scene. George on that beach, finally free. He wears a white linen shirt, sipping coconut water. The sun warms his face. For a moment, he is truly happy. The door of the office creaks open. His boss stands there, a man 20 years younger, holding a stack of new files. The dream shatters like glass against reality. The boss places another stack of reports on his desk. Overtime again tonight, George. The quarterly numbers need to be perfect. The same words for 4 decades. His trembling hands accept the files. He tries to smile, but the muscles in his face have forgotten how. Of course, he whispers. The same answer he gave in his 20s. Flashback. 28 years old. The same question from a different boss. Overtime tonight, George? Young George smiles genuinely. Of course. Energy was infinite then. He said yes to every extra shift. He said yes to every weekend. He said yes to his career and no to his family. He thought loyalty would be rewarded. It was not. Flashback. 32. His daughter's ballet recital. He's on the phone in the hallway, negotiating with a client. The music plays inside. He misses her first solo. Flashback. 38. His wife sets the dinner table for 2. He calls at 9 p.m. Working late again. She eats alone. The food gets cold. So does the marriage. Flashback. 50. The divorce papers sit between them on the kitchen table. Her hand rests on the document, but her eyes are already gone. I chose the wrong things, he says. Too late. Back to present. George looks at the empty chair beside his desk. Once upon a time, his daughter sat there after school, drawing pictures while he typed reports. He never looked up. Those childish drawings are still pinned to the corkboard. A stick figure family with the words, "My daddy is my hero." The ink has faded. The guilt has not. Imagination scene. George watching his granddaughter's graduation. In reality, he couldn't attend. But in this moment, he lets himself imagine her proud smile aimed at him. The phone on his desk rings. His daughter's name flashes on the screen. He reaches for it, then stops. What can he say? I'm sorry I chose this desk over you. He lets it ring. Flashback. 22 years old. His first job. The office seems huge and full of promise. He wears his best rented suit. He thinks this is the beginning of something great. His first paycheck. The largest amount he'd ever seen. He felt rich. He spent it all within a week. He didn't know that money's real power is in what you keep, not what you spend. Flashback. 55 years old. A seminar titled Financial Freedom. He sits in the back row, arms crossed. The speaker talks about compound interest and passive income. George takes no notes. The speaker's words float past him like smoke. Invest 15% of your income for 30 years and you'll retire a millionaire. George mentally calculates. He's already 55. Too late, he thinks. Back to present. George opens his worn leather wallet. Inside, a library card, an expired insurance card, $17 in cash, and a photograph of a beach he never visited. He thinks about the money he wasted on interest payments alone. Credit card interest, car loan interest, personal loan interest. He paid more in interest than most people earn in a lifetime. Flashback. 48. A brand new SUV in the driveway. Neighbors wave. He waves back with the confidence of a man who owns nothing but owes everything. The bank owns the car. The monthly payments on that SUV cost more than his first apartment. He drives it to a job that pays just enough to keep the car, the house, and the illusion alive. Flashback. 29. His first credit card. The limit is $5,000. It feels like free money. He buys a stereo system he doesn't need. The minimum payment is only $25. He didn't understand that the minimum payment was a trap designed to keep him paying forever. $25 turns into 30 years of payments. The stereo broke long ago. Back to present. George's eyes wander to his coworker's empty desk. Richard retired last year at 65. George attended the party. He smiled and clapped. Inside, he was drowning. Richard sends postcards from his RV. He travels the country with his wife, visiting national parks. George puts them on his bulletin board. Tiny windows into a life he'll never have. Imagination scene. George in an RV with his daughter and granddaughter, driving along a coastal highway. The ocean glitters. They laugh. For a moment, he is free of all regret. The fluorescent light buzzes and flickers, pulling him back. The RV vanishes. The ocean fades. He is alone again, surrounded by gray cubicle walls and years of accumulated paperwork. He opens the top drawer of his filing cabinet. Inside, a single manila folder labeled Retirement Plan. He opens it. It's empty. The folder has been empty for 42 years. His hand trembles as he closes the drawer. The sound of metal on metal echoes through the empty office. A sound like a coffin lid closing. A sound like the end. Flashback. 31. A conversation with his father. Save your money, son. Don't end up like me. George nods, but doesn't listen. He thinks he knows better. He never knew worse. His father worked until he was 73, died 6 months after retiring. George attended the funeral thinking, at least, I'll retire earlier. He didn't. He won't. Back to present. George picks up the empty retirement folder and holds it. The weight of nothing is heavier than any stack of bills. Nothing saved. Nothing invested. Nothing left. Flashback. 26. Young George at his desk, researching mutual funds on a dial-up internet connection. The page takes 3 minutes to load. He gives up and plays solitaire instead. That moment of impatience cost him everything. 3 minutes of waiting he couldn't endure. He closed the browser. He never opened that research page again. The interest never compounded. Back to present. The sun begins to rise outside his window. Another sleepless night conquered. Another day begun. The cycle is a snake eating its own tail. He reaches for the coffee cup, but it's empty. Like his bank account. Like his retirement plan. Like the promises he made to himself that he never kept. Flashback. 33. A coworker named Sarah shows him her investment portfolio. She started at 25. Just $100 a month, she says. George laughs it off. Sarah retires at 55 twice. Sarah's goodbye party. She brings a cake. Everyone cheers. George eats a slice and pretends the bitterness is from the coffee, not the jealousy. She waves goodbye to the building forever. Flashback. 40. His daughter's college acceptance letter arrives. He's proud, but terrified. Tuition costs more than his yearly salary. He takes out a parent plus loan. More debt. He signs the loan papers for his daughter's education. He tells himself it's an investment in her future. It is, but it's also another anchor around his own neck. Back to present. George's daughter is now a successful architect. She owns her home. She has investments. She learned from watching her father's mistake. At least one of them escaped. The irony is not lost on him. He worked his entire life to provide for her, and in doing so, taught her exactly what not to do. She profited from his failure. He's glad, but it stings. Imagination scene. A younger George from the past visits the present George. The younger version asks, "Did we make it?" The present George cannot answer. The silence is deafening. Flashback. 27. A beautiful woman at a coffee shop asks him about his dreams. He says he wants to travel the world. Write a novel. Sail across the Atlantic. She smiles. She said, "What's stopping you?" He said, "I need to save money first. I need to get established. Maybe next year." Next year never came. She married someone who didn't wait. Back to present. George looks at his reflection in the dark computer monitor. The man staring back is a stranger. When did he become this old? When did he become this tired? He can't remember the last vacation he took. Not a single week away from this desk in 20 years. He traded life for a paycheck, and the paycheck was never enough. Flashback. 43. A doctor's office. Your blood pressure is critical, George. Stress will kill you before retirement does. George nods. He works a double shift that same day. The irony is fatal. He is literally working himself to death because he's afraid of not having enough to retire. The harder he works, the sooner he dies. The trap is perfect. Back to present. The office door creaks again. The cleaning lady enters, startled to see him. "Mr. George, you are still here?" She says it every morning. He gives the same answer. "I'm almost done," he says, for the 3600th time. The cleaning lady shakes her head. She's been cleaning this office for 12 years. He has been almost done the entire time. Flashback. 36. A beach vacation with his family. The last vacation they ever took together. He spent half the time on his phone, checking emails. The ocean was right there. His daughter built a sandcastle and called him to look. "In a minute, sweetheart," he said. The tide came in and washed it away. He never saw it. She never asked again. Back to present. George opens his bottom desk drawer. A bottle of cheap whiskey hidden behind old tax returns. He doesn't drink much. But some mornings, the emptiness needs filling. He unscrews the cap. The smell hits him first. Regret smells like cheap bourbon. He doesn't drink. He just holds it. The warmth of the glass in his hand is company enough. Flashback. Y. 46. A late night call from his daughter. Dad, I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. He has no wisdom to offer. He is just as lost. He told her what his father told him, just work hard and it'll work out. But he knows now that working hard without working smart is just running on a treadmill. Exhausting. Pointless. Never arriving. Back to present. George stands up from his chair. His knees crack and his back screams. The body doesn't forgive neglect any more than a bank account does. Both are empty and broken. He walks to the window. The city is waking up. Trains carry people to their offices. Cars clog the highways. Everyone rushing to a destination they haven't thought about. Just like him. Imagination scene. George walking away from the office building, never looking back. He walks toward the sunrise, toward a small cottage by the sea. His shoulders are finally relaxed. Back to present. The phone rings again. His boss. Did you finish the quarterly report? George stares at the blank page on his monitor. Almost done, he whispers. Flashback. 23. Young George at a career fair. The recruiter says, join our company and you'll be set for life. George signs without reading the fine print. The fine print is where life hides. That company downsized at 52. He was laid off with a handshake and a cardboard box of personal items. 30 years of loyalty. 0 years of severance for the years that mattered. Back to present. George's hands hover over the keyboard. He looks at the blank document. Title, quarterly report. Subtitle, another quarter of my life gone. He deletes the subtitle. Flashback. Indashing or Amen. 34. A financial advisor sits across from him. If you start investing now, you could still have a comfortable retirement. George doesn't have the money to invest. Another opportunity lost. The advisor's card sits in George's wallet for 10 years. Every time he opens his wallet, he sees it. Every time he tells himself, next month. Next month became never. Back to present. The clock on the wall reads 7:15 a.m. Colleagues begin to trickle in. They nod at him with the usual pity. The old man who never leaves. The cautionary tale. A young intern passes by. He's 22, fresh-faced, full of energy. George sees himself 50 years ago. He wants to grab the boy and scream, run, don't end up like me. But he stays silent. The intern says, good morning. George nods. He wants to warn him about the trap of comfort, about golden handcuffs, about trading decades for dollars. But who would listen to an old man at a desk? Flashback. 39. A neighbor buys a boat. Young George watches from his driveway, jealous. He calculates. If he cuts back on dining out and coffee, he could afford one too. He doesn't cut back. The neighbor invites him for a ride. Come on, George. Live a little. George declines. I have work. The boat disappears over the horizon. The work is still on his desk. Back to present. George picks up the travel brochure again. He traces the outline of a palm tree with his finger. The paper is soft and worn from decades of this exact gesture. He imagines the feeling of sand between his toes, the sound of waves, the warm sun on ancient skin. He can almost feel it. Almost? But almost is not the same as actually. Flashback. Nadia. 41. A financial news channel plays in the break room. The ticker shows Bitcoin at $100. A coworker says, buy some, it might go up. George laughs. It goes to 60,000. Every missed opportunity compounds, not just in money, but in the weight of knowing. He could have. He should have. The heaviest words in any language are, what if? Back to present. George opens another drawer. A photo album. His daughter's childhood. Birthday parties he left early. School plays he missed. The evidence of his absence fills every page. He stops at a photo. His daughter, age 7, holding a drawing. My daddy works very hard, the crayon letters read. He was working while she was drawing this. He never saw her draw it. Flashback. 47. His daughter's wedding day. He walks her down the aisle, but his mind is on a client meeting he missed to be there. He was physically present, emotionally absent. Back to present. The email notification chimes. Another message from HRER. Mandatory retirement seminar next Thursday. He reads the date. It's next Thursday. It's always next Thursday. He clicks the calendar invite. Declines. He doesn't need a seminar to tell him what he already knows. He's not retiring. He's dying at this desk. The seminar won't change that. Flashback. 44. His mother's funeral. He gave the eulogy. He spoke about her life and love while calculating how many work hours he was losing. He hated himself for that calculation. His mother's last words to him were, "Don't work too hard, my son. The office will find someone else. Your family won't." She was right. The office found someone else within a week. Back present. George puts his head in his hands. For a long moment, he doesn't move. The fluorescent light hums above him. The clock ticks. The world spins. He stays still. Imagination scene. What if he had invested just $100 a month starting at 25? The numbers float before his eyes. $1 million by 65. A beach house. Freedom. None. The vision fades. He's back in his cubicle, but something has shifted deep inside him. The resignation is still there, but beneath it, a flicker. A small, desperate ember of hope. He looks at the young intern again. The boy is laughing with a colleague, full of life. George feels something he hasn't felt in years. Not jealousy. Concern. He wants to save the boy. Flashback. 51. An airport lounge. He's 40 minutes early for a flight. He sits by the window and watches planes take off. Each one carries someone to somewhere. He's never leaving. Back to present. The final time. George looks at his desk one last time. The photographs, the travel brochure, the empty retirement folder. This is what 50 years of work looks like. A memo board on his wall reads, "The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now." He wrote that 40 years ago. Now is finally here. But the soil is dry. He takes a deep breath. The air smells like old paper, dust, and regret. The same smell that has filled his lungs for 5 decades. He is tired of breathing this air. Flashback. 25. A travel agency. Young George picks up a brochure for a round-the-world trip. "One day," he says to the agent. She smiles and hands him the brochure. He keeps it for life. Back to present. George stands at the door of his cubicle. His hand rests on the frame. 42 years. Thousands of reports. Millions of keystrokes. One lifetime. All spent here. He looks at the young intern one more time. The boy is typing furiously, eager to prove himself. George wants to tell him, work to learn, not to earn. Save first, spend later. Time is the only asset. But the words don't come. They never did. George turns away from the cubicle and walks toward the exit. He doesn't know where he's going, but he knows he can't stay here anymore. The final scene. George steps through the office door into the morning sun. He blinks. For the first time in 42 years, there is no report waiting. No deadlines. No boss. Just him and the world. The screen fades to black. A single line of text appears. This doesn't have to be your story. Start today. Not next month. Not next year. Today. Me. No. A final message lingers on the screen. Financial freedom isn't about being rich. It's about having choices. Don't wait until you're 70 to learn what you should have known at 20.